Good evening, welcome to World Cinema Reviews. This is your host Frank the Vamp, and tonight we're continuing our Analyzing the Franchise series with Final Destination Part 2. So, um, if you haven't seen my Part 1 video, I encourage you to watch. I'm going to put the link on the description so that you can go to Final Destination Part 1. Now, after the great success of part one, and seeing how awesomely I enjoy that film, and I think that it's set apart from any other video because of that real feeling that death is an actual character of the movie. It's like death is out to get you. It's like, an unstoppable slasher that will not stop until you are dead, until you're his or hers, depending on what your point of view about what the entity of death, whether female, male, or neutral. But we have a problem here in part two because there's two ways this movie can go. Before we start talking about anything out of the movie, there's two ways that this movie can take off. This movie can either try to continue the story of the original, try to top it, follow the past characters, um, the ones that survived the movie, and see what happened to them and perhaps build on that and try to further the story or top the story with a more incredible, very elaborate story. Or you can go formulaic. And don't get me wrong, going formulaic is not necessarily bad. It's basically finding out what people from the first film liked, and then amplify it. If you've seen the Scream movies, where they say, hey, sequels are usually more gory, and they tell you other details the sequels have, other than the original. And yeah, and guess what? That's what this movie chose. Now, now let's start talking about the movie and tell you whether choosing to be a little formulaic here, did it help the movie or did it hurt the movie? So let's get into it. This movie was made 3 years later, back on 2003. This time directed by David R. Ellis, um, reprising her role as Claire Rivers. It's Ali Larder. We have A.J. Cook as the newcomer Kimberly Corman, and we have once again Tony Todd in a small cameo as Mortician William Bloodworth, reprises his role from the original. Now, um, this movie actually has very little connection to the original, and before I start talking about the plot, yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We have Devon Sawa, did not reprise his role as Alex, which is a big blow to the movie. Um, I think that he was one of the best parts of the original. I really wish that he would have. There's some internet rumors. If you want to read on them, you can go on the links or even YouTube videos made about it. Some involve money talks that didn't pan out. It doesn't matter now. The point is that he did not make it. In fact, he dies off screen in a very sucky move, I think. So knowing that, I was already a little discouraged, perhaps, because I wanted to see him. But like I said, let's keep talking, and we'll tell you exactly what how does this film works and how it doesn't. Now here comes the plot. Okay, the plot is actually very complex, surprisingly complex, but the theme is simple. We have Kimberly going off to spring break, trying to merge on the freeway. Now, there's several cars behind her, and it's slow moving, trying to merge in a heavy traffic area. And yeah, this is no, like I said, there. I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but this is even in the previews, I believe. You see that there's obviously going to be a car accident, and this car accident, very elaborate car accident, starts to kill off some of the characters, and lo and behold, just like part one, the character wakes up and finding herself that she still hasn't merged into the freeway. She's still waiting in her car. People are still behind her. She freaks out. She says, I got to get out of this car. We can't merge in the freeway. And then people get mad because they can't move. And they'll start to argue with her. And then, of course, the actual accident happens. Um, then, you know, it's, like the story of how to solve the problem is complex, but the premise is simple, which is basically um, she gets detained and she's told that this happened one time before with flight 180 in part one, and characters start getting killed off one by one. um, and there's then she meets up with the character of Claire Rivers from the first one, that is now in a voluntary mental institution seclusion. That's where she explains that character of Alex died on last, and she's the last one, and she expects to die soon, and and then she helps her how to figure out, what's going on with her and how to avoid that they all die, and how to see the clues, and so on and so on. Now, let's talk about how this works and how this doesn't. Uh, as story wise, it doesn't. This has all the makings of a big failure because it's just a complete recycle, right? So if you just think about the story plus the way to solve it, it's so weird, involving a baby and a pregnant woman and a ambulance and some weird things that the characters have to do. I mean, I gave up trying to explain that. So the story sucks. It's so, and I think that they were trying to do something else with Devon Sawa character would still be there. So directors figure out one very important thing: formulas work. So what does people like from the original one? They like the very elaborate accident, right? And they like very stylish and gory death. Guess what? This is cranked up like 200% compared to the original. And that, my friend, hella works. You don't believe that this works? Just see, hey, see the Halloween franchise after part four. Um, you can see Friday the 13th after part seven when went haywire. My opinion. Um, and unfortunately culminated with Jason Goes to Hell, which is not a very good film. My least favorite in the Jason series, but that's another story. Um, well, if you don't count Freddy versus Jason, which is, but then again, I'm sidetracking. Going back to this, the gore is cramped up amazingly. Let's talk about that. All the deaths are done incredibly stylish, and there's some, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's one that looks unbelievable, like so shocking. That is unbelievable. Now the accident, oh man, the accident is so creepy. Hey, how many, you know raise your hand if you have to battle traffic in freeways, or you have you done that before, right? We all have, right? Wouldn't, raise your hand now if you have heard about pileups. Like not just three or four or six or 10. Have you heard of 50 car pileups? Have you heard, real bad ones? I mean, I'm talking about hundreds dead, fires, explosions, complete annihilation. Yeah, I think we're all familiar with that stuff. And you know what? That stuff is very real. When you take the wheel of your car, you get in the freeway, you are risking your life, my friends. Just let me tell you that. If you think it's perfectly safe and everybody's normal, no, dude, you don't know if the dudes, driving and they're high, they're drunk. Truck drivers that may have driven for over 24 hours, they're falling asleep at the wheel, and they're driving you know, toxic cargo, or maybe even gasoline. Have you seen some trucks like drifted away, from one lane to the other without any explanation? And have you seen, real bad accidents? I remember one scene. One dude was There were two dudes in a motorcycle in the freeway going about 75 miles an hour each, and they were both trying to stand up and do tricks, and they were only like a few car lengths away from me. I completely, passed them, and went completely way away from that, because I'm like, I'm gonna prevent, if something happens, I don't want to run over them. I don't want to do, because you either let them speed off, or nah. Anyways, this is terrific. I mean, there is some CG involved, I heard, but man, you don't see it. I mean, the cars are awesome. There's and the way the piled up all the logs. Oh, there's I'm not gonna get into it exactly what happened. It's worth watching. It's really creepy. So as far as the acting, it got a little cheesy and a little lesser. So yeah, as you can tell, of course, this is a lesser product. But is it a terrible product? Not at all. I enjoy this film, and the reason is because it gives people what they want. They wanted to see the stylish death. They wanted to see gorier, cooler accidents, and that's what we got. And you know what? Another thing we got was some. The movie kind of makes fun of himself. There's two actors that I kind of spare from this one. I like Claire from the prior film that she's there, and I also really enjoy, um, of course, Tony Todd. He's just awesome. He's just so freaking creepy. There's just and he kind of keeps that feel of the series. So overall, yeah, it's a lesser product, but it's not the it's not the worst of the series, not by far. So I gave the original an A. I'm gonna give this one a B minus. It's still, even though it's a rehash of the original. Um, it has There is some connection. It's a weird connection, but there to Flight 180. Um, and there is some winks to the audience, some winks to us, and definitely, you could see that they put time and effort into the stunts, and really cool scenes. And I appreciate a little bit of humor there that happened. So yeah, the movie, it's a popcorn movie. It's a B minus movie. You know, it's something you I still enjoy watching, and I still especially love to sit through some of the death and some of the cool. So if you enjoy that stuff, this is the one for you. If you're in it for the story, you're gonna be disappointed with this one. But there you go. So yeah, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for Final Destination Part 3, which goes on a roller coaster. The possibilities. But is it good? Well, stay tuned for next video. Please let me know your comments, whether they're positive or negative. I take them all, dude. If you like the movie, awesome. If you didn't like it, tell me why. And also, subscribe. So I need subscribers. Thank you so much for all of you who have subscribed to me already. And of course, I'm a greedy bastard. I want more, 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 more of you because I just love you and I just want to share more with you. Till then, take care and you know, stay away from the Reaper, man. Stay away from the Reaper.